I'm RACER's Marshall Pruett. I'm here with Dan Bishop, Firestone's lead development engineer, specialist on ovals, and we are certainly at an oval, Dan, Texas Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles of insanity. Quick thank you this weekend, by the way, to HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, supporting all of our videos here on RACER. So Dan, we're going to do something tomorrow on Saturday. We're going to do this rubbering in session again, try and make sure that the traction available to our NTT IndyCar Series drivers on their Firestone tires equal the second lane as equal as can be, second lane to the first lane. We know the remnants here, as we can see, this darker shaded pathway coming into turn 1 and 2. You can see this is carrying again some of the remnants. NASCAR likes to put some traction aids here for their series. Has never really played super nice with our series and your tires. Tell us about this amazing device, which I incorrectly call the gripometer, but how y'all at Firestone put some real science to this. Measure what the track surface grip is, high lane and low lane, to then come back and see after the session, how's it changed, how's it gotten better, what's different?
Yeah, so this is an ASFT, that's Airport Surface Friction Tester, is a company that makes it. This is a T2Go. Ours is one of the few T2Go Rs that we have in the country, and the R stands for racing. And that's because this is used on a lot of surfaces like runways, but our traction is so much higher, especially once we get that rubber down, that you need a heavier load cell to be able to handle that racing surface. Wow. So this can test anywhere from something that, normal non-rubbered surface to something like a drag strip where it's intentionally very, very sticky and has rubber laid down. What we use this for, we take readings usually before every event. We try to get this data to the teams, not just to see how the surface changes during an event, but also how the data changes year to year over time. The things we look for a lot are deltas, or really small changes, but also the really big changes that happen really quickly are very important to the driver. So something where you expect the traction to be there and it won't. So one of the things we always look at a surface like this, where we have a coating down, the surface has to have some little nooks and crannies to be able to carry our rubber down into it, to provide that grip back to the tire. When you kind of fill those nooks and crannies in with something else like a hard resin or plastic, we can't get our rubber down into there. So I
always think of it like the two sides of Velcro. When things are working properly for our Firestone tires, as you mentioned, you have the Firestone rubber that's been worked into those little grooves. The driver's coming back over it with their tires at speed. Again, kind of like matching Velcro, giving them great grip. You fill it with this black goo that isn't ours, a little bit of a complication.
Yeah, and that's like with Velcro, if you stick it to something else like cotton and it has that there, it won't work as well again. So the cotton's kind of like that black goo that we would put down here, a surface coat. And so here at Texas, IndyCar and Texas have worked a long time to try to get this surface better and better over time. One thing we see is it's gotten a little lighter, where it's not quite as dark in the corners, and the gray area is really important to us. So when we talk about the application, we always talk about the border. So when I say those deltas, you don't want to suddenly be steering and lose all your grip. And that's a transition border area that we have in the gray zone there. That's gotten really good year over year. So we've seen 2 years back about 16% grip loss right at the gray area. That's dropped to 10, and then with our recent checking, we were about 7% grip loss. So
that's huge. And another big note too is NASCAR was using something called the PJ1 traction compound, and that is what has left this dark remnants that not friendly for us. They changed that to using a resin most recently. As I've been told, that has come out of the track surface a little bit easier, a little bit better. So not perfect by any means, but another great note, although we're here with NASCAR this weekend, the trucks are running Saturday night, they're not applying anything. So thankfully, hopefully, this rubbering in session will really do big things for us. So what might we see here if we were to use the good old gripometer to generate some numbers?
So this gripometer, we also call him Mr. T. Has a code name for our group. So
Mr. T. I pity the fool.
Exactly. When we run him, you have to use it at a pretty normal walking speed. It's a little more difficult on ovals, but once we start a measurement as we walk, one tire is underdriven and one tire is overdriven.
Okay.
And so the overdriven tire is always skidding very, very slightly. And that gives us a friction reading based on a load cell between the two. So the front tire is actually geared to the rear tire, and that's where you get that underdrive. So much like you said, a gripometer or even sliding your shoe, this is the same thing, but just with a lot more science behind it that's more accurate with numbers that we can put behind it.
And we're here with our friend Kara Kristolic. Just learned we have the title executive added. You're Professor Kara. When it comes to Firestone tires and racing, you know all, as does Dan as well. But y'all are generating a graph here. It's telling us what kind of grip is available, and as we're moving down the track, get into the lighter, non-discolored side, non-traction goo side. Hopefully we will get some more data here that we can show. This is fascinating. And you do this at every track as well, so this isn't just a Texas thing, this is everywhere.
Yep.
If you see folks with the red Firestone hats pushing around Mr. T, you know that they're indeed trying to figure out this information everywhere we go. And so you mentioned feeding this back to the teams. It's also, I mean, clearly you want to know this stuff for yourself, but tell me about how this knowledge informs the teams and help them learn what they need to do.
So while it helps at an oval quite a bit, one of the places that this comes into play a lot is with patches or repair patches that are updated year to year. Some patches really pick up rubber a lot, so initially they'll be very low on grip, but as you race over them, they really start to grip. So you may want to change your driving line just ever so slightly to take advantage of that grip, or to stay out of that section if you know there's a loss of grip there. So when we produce this information for the team, we'll usually give a holistic track view, and we'll say there are 4 or 5 surfaces on a track. And if there are certain places where we know there's a strong delta or a strong gain or loss of grip, we'll talk about that as well as what we've seen historically. Will this increase in grip or lose grip during the event?
See, last year when I tried to do this, I used my stupid shoe. My shoe is a gripometer thanks to Hoka, apparently, in my orange creamsicle shoes. But we have real data. Appreciate you, the entire team at Firestone, for everything you do for us.
Absolutely. Thank you.